Okay, good morning everyone. Welcome to lesson 2, which is comprehension. And the first thing you need to do is head up your book with today's date just to get into a good habit of doing it. And you can put in there lesson 2, comprehension. So the student workbook for this is on Teams. So you just go to the English folder. There it is there. Click the little epsilon and download your own copy and save it so that you can go to that each day. The workbook looks like this, and it's the same one we were using in class last week. As you can see, there's a writing part to it and a reading part to it. We have done the writing part. You've done that major assessment piece last week. We worked on that straight up, so well done. So we're going straight into the comprehension part of it. So we've done all of that. We've even looked at this letter, but we're just going to go over it again today because there was a few people away on football and things. Now, what we're looking at with Matilda, which is a novel, this is the front of the novel, what it looks like, is A Waltz for Matilda, and the author is Jackie French. It's about a little girl who's growing up in Australia between 1894 to 1915. In Australia at the time, there was a lot of problems. There was the White Australia policy, which we learnt about in Haas, and a lot of racism, a lot of children working in factories to try and keep their families. Life was very, very hard. So this little girl, Matilda, writes letters back and forth between people. And we can see that how her life changes over a period of time. Now, the skills that we're trying to develop by doing this is our comprehension and understanding of how people spoke at the time and being able to work out what's going on in that context, but also our grammar skills. So let's turn to slide 10 and have a look at that. Now, in letter writing, there's a structure to it, as there is with all genres. There's a heading, which is the date and your address, the greeting, which is where we say dear whoever or dearest whoever, the body of the letter that gives us all the details that informs the person we're writing it to. Now, letter writing can sometimes be persuasive, where we want people to do something for us, but in this case, and when we wrote our letter to our future selves, the purpose was to inform about our lives and what's going on. Then we have our closing, which wraps up the letter, makes a prediction or wishes someone well, and finishes off, and then our signature. So let's read through this letter. Just to start off, this is the first letter in the novel, and it's quite sad. So Matilda is writing this in August 1894. She's about 12 years of age, and she's writing it to her dad. So we know nothing about her now, so this is going to give us an idea. Dear Dad, I hope you are well. Did you get my last letter? Mum and I are not at Aunt Anne's now. We are living with Mrs. Dawkins in Grinders Alley. And that does not sound like a very nice place, does it? It is a boarding house, and we only have one room. Mrs. Dawkins is kind. She found me a job in a jam factory. I pretend that I am 14, not 12, so that I get paid 3 shillings a week. The boys get 6 shillings, and I don't think that is fair. We are so poor that we have had our furniture taken away. Mum is very sick, and we have no money for doctors. She is very sick and cannot do work any more. I hope you are all right. I am worried because we have not received any money from you for more than a year now. I wonder whether you have received my letters. We have very little money after I pay the 1 shilling for rent. I buy old bread from the bakers and vegetables that are starting to go off from the greengrocers. Then I make a soup. I am worried about Mum because we don't have money for medicine. Give my love to the sheep and the lambs. I hope that one day I will see the farm. Do you have a dog? I like dogs. Your loving daughter, Matilda. So last week when we went through this, we highlighted and annotated the text. We put in what was the heading, the greeting, the body of the letter, the closing, and then the signature. The next thing that we did was, and this is something that you need to do for every letter that we look at, and I know this is hard for distance learning, but straight from the get-go we number each line. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way down. And the reason why we do this is later on you'll see is that if we are going to really examine a part of the letter, I may say, go to line 4, and you will count down 1, 2, 3, 4. And I may say, who are they living with now? And what's the name of the street? And you'll go, oh, Mrs. Dawkins, Grinders Alley. So that's why we always number each line, and we started doing that last week. The next thing that we did last week was we looked at the adjectives in the letter, and this is where we're really going to get into each letter and annotate it. So this is just a little refresher and get us going for tomorrow. And we looked at the adjectives that describe Matilda's living conditions. So in your book, you can even do this now. And just under where you've written the date and comprehension, just write adjectives. And of course, adjectives are describing words, they describe the nouns. Let's have a look. Adjectives that describe Matilda's living conditions. Okay. All right. We are living in Grinders Alley. It is what kind of house is it? It's a boarding house. So we're going to write in boarding because that describes what kind of house it is. And we only have, how many bedrooms do we have there? We have 1. So 1 being the adjective again, we write that in. Mrs. Dawkins is kind. That's describing Mrs. Dawkins. She found me a job, and that's about all there is. So that's easy, isn't it? The next one is, now this is a very important one. We're going to be doing this a lot, and that is circle in red any expressive verbs that Matilda has used to describe how she is feeling. Well, we're not going to circle any in red, and we'll just call that 3. Doesn't matter how you number it, I'll know what you mean. So we're looking for expressive verbs that talk about how Matilda's feeling. Okay, so in the first paragraph, hope you're well. She doesn't, I pretend that I am 14. That's not, she's kind of making something up. It's not really her feelings. I get paid, boys get paid. I don't think that is fair. Is that expressing how she's feeling? It's more what she's thinking, isn't it? She doesn't think that that's fair. We are so poor that we have had our furniture taken away. Mum's very sick, and she can't do work anymore. I hope you're all right. Is that expressing how she's feeling? I think so. I hope. And what we would normally do is we'd put the line number on there after that when we count down. Don't worry about that for today. I am worried because we have not received any money. So there we go. We'll put that in. I am worried. That's expressing how she's feeling. She's worried about something. I wonder whether you have received my letters. And we'd put the line number in again to show what line that is. We have very little money. I buy old bread. I am worried again. She says that again. And we could put the line number in again twice to show that's on the same line. Give my love to the sheep and lamb. So she's giving her love. We'll put that in. And we put the line number after it. I hope, she says I hope again. So she uses that again. So we'd put that line number in next to that. But don't worry about it for now. I'll fix that up next time when we look at another letter. I'll put the line numbers in. I will see the farm. Do you have a dog? I like dogs. Is that expressing how she's feeling? She's liking something. I think that is. I like dogs, so you'd write that in as well. Okay, now we're going to have a look and highlight the phrases in each sentence that convey hardships. Now, hardship is something that you're going through which is not good, difficult or upsetting. Now, a hardship that we're all going through is that we're all in lockdown and we can't see each other and we've got to do our lessons from school and you can't see your family. That's our hardship. And some of us think that that's pretty terrible and boring, but I tell you what, it's better than getting sick. So let's look at what Matilda's actually dealing with. And what I want you to do is just continue numbering. So number 4. And I want you to write in the hardships. Okay, here we go. I hope you're well. Did you get my last letter? Mum and I are not at Aunt Anne's now. We're living with Mrs. Dawkins in Grinders Alley in a boarding house. Yep, so I reckon that boarding house is the first boarding house at, where's it at? Grinders Alley. That's a bit of a hardship, don't you? I think so. So we'll write that in. And then the second one is, it's only got one bedroom. One bedroom. The next thing is a job in a jam factory. We write that in. Don't forget, if I'm going too fast or anything, you can pause that. Write your answers in and then see what I identify. Like, for example, now I'm going to pause and I want you to go through, find all the hardships and write it in, pause it, and then play, and we'll go over the answers together. So I'll give you a minute to do that. Okay, so the other ones that I hope you've identified is that she pretends that she's 12 years old, so she gets paid 3 shillings a week, which is pretty terrible. That's another hardship. You could even put in there that it's not fair because the boys get 6. I mean, that's double the pay. We are so poor that we've had our furniture taken away. So poor, furniture taken away. So you can see how long this list is getting. Mum's very sick, so that's another one. We don't have any money for doctors, that's another one. And she can't even go to work anymore. I'm worried. We haven't received any money, that's another one. I pay 1 shilling towards the rent. I buy old bread and vegetables to make a soup, that's another one. I'm worried about Mum. We've already said that she doesn't have any medicine. So that, in the end, that ends up being a list of about nearly 10 points of hardship, which is pretty terrible, pretty extreme. They're not at home doing lessons in a comfortable house with people that love them. She's really struggling to keep her poor old mum alive, so that's pretty terrible. Now, this last question is, how do you think this life would be difficult, and would you be able to endure these conditions? Endure meaning, would you be able to keep going and show resilience and just keep going for as long as you need to? And that's a question that keeps coming up in this novel. Can you endure it? And it's actually in your comprehension test, so it's really good to start getting your head around it now. So what I would like you to do is just write 3 to 4 sentences on, do you think you would endure it? Do you think it'd be so terrible that you wouldn't be able to do it at all? You'd have to run away and escape? Or would you endure it because you'd want to take care of your mum? Would you be sad every day and crying? Or would you be really tough about it and keep going? And even write a little line about how that compares with what we're going through now. And as you can see, everybody in their life has to endure some hardships, and that's where we build our resilience and work together. So that's our lesson for today. Actually, one more little thing that we might do before we go, I nearly forgot, is can you please rule up your book just with five lines, don't make it too huge, and I would like you to put on there past, present and future tense. So just like this, past, present and future tense. Now, as we learnt with our own letter writing, we wrote a letter to our future selves. Everything was in, do you remember? Future tense. Oh, present tense, I should say, because you're writing about now, you're informing your reader about what was going on. So we're going to go through and have a look and see if this letter is in past, present, or future tense. We're going to reread the word, identify the words, and write them in the correct column. Okay, and then we're going to see what tense this letter is written in. I hope you are well. So I hope is present, so let's put that in. We're only going to do about 5 words, we'll see. Did you get my last letter? Mum and I are not at Aunt Anne's now. We are living with Mrs. Dawkins. Now, normally living ing is future tense, but in this case, we are living. That are makes it now, present tense, and we only have 1 room. It is a boarding house and we only have 1 room. Mrs. Dawkins is kind. So there we go again. Kind is kind. We'll put that in present tense. She found me a job in a jam factory. I pretend she's doing that now. That I am 14, not 12, so that I get paid, that I get paid. She's getting paid in the future, so that one's in the future, get, and then paid. 3 shillings a week. The boys get 6 shillings, and I don't think that is fair. I don't think. So she's thought about it already, so that's past tense. I don't think. We are so poor that we have had our furniture taken away. So taken, that's past tense. So what I want you to do is just go through, identify some verbs. It doesn't have to be every verb, and just write it in which column, future, present, or past. Write about 5 to 6 words. You can do more if you want. Go through the whole letter if you want, but just have a think about what tense that it is. And the way that I ask myself questions then is what I would like you to do. And then we can probably see, you can pause me now while you do that. Then once you've done, have a look at the list of your words and see which column is most full. And I think you'll find it'll be present tense because Matilda is writing at the time about the experiences that she is having now. Okay, well that concludes our comprehension lesson. Wasn't too bad, was it? Tomorrow we're going to look at verbs and adverbs and some examples of it and just make sure we understand how to use it. And we're going to read another little letter as well. All right, that's it for comprehension. Next lesson is lesson 3, which is our maths. Move my thing out of the way and stop the video. Make sure you have something to eat, and I'll talk to you soon.